Tim Ferriss, focusing on his philosophy, habits, and approach to health, wellness, and success. Part 1. On focus. Tim Ferriss is a master at simplifying complex tasks and achieving extraordinary results with minimal effort. He's built an empire by relentlessly experimenting with his life, cutting out the excess, and focusing only on what truly matters. His approach to life is rooted in efficiency, and this philosophy has shaped everything from his business ventures to his approach to health. He famously said, "What we fear doing most is usually what we most need to do." This quote perfectly encapsulates Ferriss's mindset. He believes that the things we avoid or feel overwhelmed by are often the very things that will push us toward growth and success. By embracing discomfort, we expand our boundaries, and by simplifying, we can maximize the value we get from our efforts. For Tim, wellness, success, and happiness don't require complex strategies or endless hacks. Instead, they're about focusing on the essentials and cutting away everything that isn't truly contributing to our goals. In his landmark book, The 4-Hour Workweek, Ferriss advocates for a minimalist approach to life, emphasizing the elimination of distractions and focusing on the few things that truly move the needle. He encourages people to spend less time on unnecessary tasks and more time on high-impact actions. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. This same principle extends into health. Ferriss doesn't chase every new trend in fitness or wellness. Instead, he focuses on core habits that provide lasting results, such as consistent sleep, mindful eating, and regular physical activity. Ferriss often challenges the modern obsession with busyness and overconsumption. Being busy is a form of laziness, lazy thinking, and indiscriminate action. In this sense, Ferriss challenges us to rethink how we define productivity. It's not about checking off a long to-do list or diving into endless projects. True productivity, according to Ferriss, is about aligning our time and energy with the things that matter most. This philosophy applies directly to wellness as well. By focusing on the core activities that promote long-term health and eliminating the noise, whether it's gimmicks, trends, or unhelpful distractions, we can achieve better results with less effort. In his own life, Ferriss embodies this principle. He's constantly refining his approach, cutting out things that drain his time and energy. For example, he regularly advocates for batching, a strategy that involves grouping similar tasks together to maximize efficiency. He applies this to everything, from business work to exercise, ensuring that each activity serves multiple purposes. For Tim, it's not about doing everything, but about doing what's important, with focus and intentionality. Tim's life is proof that simplicity and focus can lead to extraordinary outcomes. Whether in business or wellness, the key is to eliminate distractions and focus on the few things that truly move the needle. Ferriss shows us that we don't need to complicate our lives with endless strategies. Instead, we need to become ruthlessly focused on what truly makes a difference, and everything else falls away. In his words, focus on being productive instead of busy. This mindset shift is essential not only in business but also in maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Wellness isn't about constantly adding new practices, gadgets, or routines. It's about focusing on the tried and true methods that keep us healthy and balanced. From meditation and exercise to proper nutrition and sleep, these are the fundamentals Ferriss emphasizes as the true sources of well-being. When we clear out the clutter and focus on the essentials, we can enjoy better health, more energy, and a sense of fulfillment that comes from doing less, but doing it better. Ultimately, Tim Ferriss's approach to simplicity and focus reminds us that less is often more. In a world that constantly urges us to do more, own more, and consume more, Tim advocates for the power of subtraction. By eliminating distractions and honing in on what truly matters, we unlock a more productive, fulfilling, and healthier life. Part 2. On Experimentation and Health. Tim Ferriss doesn't guess, he tests. Whether it's diet, sleep, exercise, or mindset, he's made his body and mind a living laboratory. His approach to wellness isn't about following one fixed system, it's about asking the right questions and running the experiments. He said it clearly. I am not a genius. I am a systematizer. I'm an experimenter, not an expert. And that's a powerful shift, because it means you don't need perfect knowledge, just curiosity, consistency, and the willingness to track what works for you. In The 4-Hour Body, Ferriss documented some of his wildest health experiments, eating 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking, taking ice baths to accelerate fat loss, using slow-carb diets with weekly cheat days to maximize compliance, testing his sleep with polyphasic routines, supplementing with magnesium, smart drugs, and tracking everything from blood glucose to HRV. At one point, he even hired a team of doctors and scientists to monitor his data, just to see how far he could push his body and mind. But beneath the biohacking is something deeper: personal responsibility. Ferriss teaches us that no guru, no doctor, no influencer knows your body better than you do, if you're paying attention. The decent method you follow is better than the perfect method you quit. That quote? It hits hard, because so often we wait for the perfect program or plan before taking action. Tim flips that. He says, start now, test small, learn fast. This mindset is freedom. No more rigid blueprints. No more one-size-fits-all health dogmas. Just you, the data, and the discipline to keep going. And if something doesn't work, good, now you know. Adjust, try again. Because Ferriss isn't chasing perfection, he's chasing results. He's even said, the superheroes you have in your mind, idols, icons, titans, billionaires, etc., are nearly all walking flaws, but they found a way to capitalize on one or two strengths. That applies to health too. You don't have to do everything right. You just need to find what works for you, then double down. In the end, Ferriss reminds us, health isn't a fixed destination. It's a constantly evolving process. And the real goal? To become the kind of person who experiments, who pays attention, who learns, adapts, and grows. Because when you take control of the variables, you take control of your life. Part 3. On movement, recovery, and the 4-hour body. Tim Ferriss redefined what it means to be fit. And he did it by asking one simple question: what's the least effort required to get the maximum result? In the 4-hour body, Ferriss dives deep into strength, fat loss, sleep, sex, and even muscle gain, all through the lens of strategic minimalism. He's not against effort, he's against wasted effort. Being busy is a form of laziness, lazy thinking, and indiscriminate action. For Ferriss, the real skill is knowing what not to do. Take his approach to fitness. Instead of spending hours in the gym, he found movements that delivered the biggest ROI. The kettlebell swing, what he calls the queen of exercises, for fat loss. Occam's protocol, a minimalist strength training routine requiring just a couple workouts a week. Timed isometric holds and pre-exhaustion techniques to maximize results with minimal time. He ran these protocols on himself and hundreds of others, and the transformations were dramatic. People gained muscle, lost fat, and even improved biomarkers, all without spending their lives training. But Ferriss wasn't just focused on the output. He obsessed over the recovery. He's taken ice baths to reduce inflammation, tried polyphasic sleep to optimize rest, used acupressure mats, magnesium, and inversion tables to ease muscle tension. He even used Zeo sleep monitors and self-hypnosis to track and improve REM cycles. If you quantify one variable and make a single change, you'll find the golden lever. That's his system. Test one thing at a time. Measure, adjust, improve. And when it comes to movement, Ferriss doesn't glamorize grind culture. He said, the goal is not to simply get more done, but to have less to do. That applies to the gym too. He believes overtraining is a silent killer of progress. Most people, he says, are not undertrained, they're under-recovered. That's why sleep, stillness, and smart scheduling are part of the workout plan. It's not just physical either. Ferriss writes about the connection between recovery and performance, not just for athletes, but for thinkers, leaders, and creators. Because when you don't rest, your nervous system breaks down, your decision-making falters, your immune system crashes, and no amount of beast mode can fix that. Tim reminds us that fitness isn't just about more reps, it's about better strategy, better rest, and better results, with less burnout. In a culture obsessed with doing more, Ferriss gives us permission to pause, to train smarter, to recover harder, and to remember, you are the average of the 5 people you most associate with, and the habits you most repeat. So choose wisely, move with purpose, and rest with intention. Because real strength isn't just what you lift, it's how well you recover. Part 4. On time management, efficiency, and prioritization. Tim Ferriss doesn't worship hustle. He doesn't glorify burnout. What he values is leverage, doing more by doing less. Focus on being productive instead of busy. Tim Ferriss. In the 4-hour workweek, Ferriss flipped the traditional script on work and life. He argued that the key to freedom isn't more hours, it's better use of them. The enemy, he says, isn't laziness, it's unconscious busyness. Filling time with low-value tasks to avoid the uncomfortable work that actually moves the needle. One of his core strategies is the Pareto principle. 80% of outcomes come from 20% of inputs. Ferriss didn't just study this, he lived it. He built companies and wrote best-selling books by relentlessly cutting distractions and identifying the highest leverage actions. If a task doesn't create meaningful results or joy, it's either delegated, automated, or deleted. That's not just time management, it's life design. And this mindset extends to health. Instead of trying every wellness hack under the sun, Ferriss focuses on the few behaviors that deliver maximum ROI. High-protein meals, short, efficient workouts, cold exposure, deep sleep. He tracks, tweaks, and tests. But always comes back to the question, what's the smallest change that will make the biggest difference? This is the heart of his philosophy, minimum effective dose. Why run 5 miles when 1 mile does the job? Why meditate for an hour if 10 minutes clears your mind? Efficiency isn't laziness, it's freedom. By stripping away the non-essential, Ferriss creates space for what matters most. Writing, movement, deep conversations, and long walks. The kind that recharge, not deplete. As he puts it, doing less is not being lazy. Don't give in to a culture that values personal sacrifice over personal effectiveness. Time is the ultimate currency, and how we spend it, moment by moment, defines the quality of our lives. Ferriss reminds us, the goal isn't to do more, it's to live better. Part 5. On stress, fear, and risk-taking. Stress isn't the enemy, fear isn't a sign to stop. To Tim Ferriss, they're compasses, pointing toward the very thing we need to face. What we fear doing most is usually what we most need to do. Ferriss has stared down crippling anxiety. He's faced depression. He's taken risks that could have publicly failed, pitching startups, launching books, investing millions, speaking in front of thousands. But rather than avoid the fear, he dissected it. His signature tool, fear setting. Described in his TED Talk and practiced religiously, fear setting is a written exercise that flips the script on decision-making. Instead of visualizing the best-case scenario, as with goal setting, Ferriss asks, what's the worst that could happen? How could I prevent it? What would I do if it did happen? And what's the cost of inaction? By writing it out, he strips fear of its power. Because once you define it, fear shrinks. You realize most risks aren't fatal. They're just uncomfortable. People will choose unhappiness over uncertainty. Ferriss refuses to live that way. For him, stress isn't something to eliminate. It's something to train with, like weights at the gym. when used wisely, it makes you stronger. This isn't abstract. Ferriss has tested this in extreme ways, cold exposure to condition himself to discomfort. Public challenges like tango competitions in Argentina, fasting and minimalist living to reduce attachment to luxury, psychedelic-assisted therapy to confront deep emotional patterns. Each one wasn't a stunt. It was a way to rewire his response to fear. He says, "Conditions are never perfect. Someday is a disease that will take your dreams to the grave with you." In health, it's the same. We fear starting. We fear failure. We fear discomfort. But Ferriss teaches us that growth begins at the edge of discomfort, and our body, like our life, responds to challenges with adaptation. Stress is inevitable, but how we meet it, with clarity, tools, and movement, is a choice. A person's success in life can usually be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations he or she is willing to have. Courage in Ferriss's world isn't the absence of fear, it's walking into it and becoming better on the other side. Thanks for watching and thinking with me. Subscribe for weekly videos on health, philosophy, and holistic living.